Okay, so on Monday, we started this document for the broadcast guidelines. We were doing setup. A lot of this is kind of repeat or carryover from the previous document, but we did hardware end first, and we did software end, and so we did all that on Monday. That's in the previous video as well. For live stream setup, we spent a decent amount of time talking about that. Overlays, graphics, advertisements, things that we need. I showed you guys some references from past streams. So we have the welcome screens and the logos and the gameplay feeds and the brackets from League OS and all of those things that we need to make sure that we have. Even the inclusion and removal of some more time-sensitive elements from that week. And then using things like Ultimate Stream Tool for pulling in data for Smash, okay? We also need to do the how to play the game graphics or what to watch graphics for Smash and for Siege. If that's something that somebody wants to do, you can do. Hunter's already got a bunch of projects on his plate right now for playoffs and stuff for us, so if somebody else wants to do this, I'll give preference to them first. But that's something that would be very beneficial to get done here, okay? The last thing we really had talked about, I believe, was here, which was setup of the in-house AV or production laptops. So we said we're going to have one on the catwalk, one in the back of the auditorium. They're going to pull in YouTube streams as a browser source, and these are the things that they need to show. I even kind of showed you guys what that looked like for Mario Kart when we were looking at reference material on Monday. Okay. Now, during the event itself, we basically need to have kind of the live stream checklist or the procedures for Siege and for Smash. And so we're going to be doing a checklist for what happens at the start of the stream during a match between rounds and games, right? Who is this checklist for? The casters, right? This is for, so when the casters are on the mic and they're doing their thing, they're not overlooking important things that they need to do. Before we make a checklist, what are some examples of things that we need to make sure the streamers do or don't do when they're getting ready to go live with a new game or a new round for the state tournament? Cody?
Make sure that the stream is named properly.
Okay, great. So let's make sure that the stream is named properly first, and that we did all the back end to make sure when you go live, that it goes live and people can see it, right? That's typically why we start those streams about 15, 20, 30 minutes in advance, and we just let them sit on, hey, we're here. That also is good because that gives the high schools a chance to share those links out, put them up in classrooms, share with friends and family, and go directly to where those games will take place. So making sure streams are live and titles are updated is great. That's a good step, okay? What else?
Audio.
Okay, you need to make sure your audio is fine. You know, you don't want to start a stream and then go, hey, blah, blah, welcome back, blah, 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 and you're like, why is the button still blinking? Right? You don't want to go through and be on stream for 2 minutes and be flipping between screens and doing your whole intro and being excited and then realizing that nobody could hear anything that you just said because you were muted. Okay, so make sure that you, in your checklist, you mute and you unmute when you need to. Muting is just as important as unmuting, and we'll talk about why in a minute. Okay, Max, what are you gonna say?
Saying the players' names and gamer tags.
Correct. You guys, or the people that are streaming, will be given a paper roster of that entire team at the start of every single match. You are going to read that school name, which you guys need to know how to say correctly. Okay? Please, right? Think about it if it was you. If you were playing and you were represented by a school, and I'm trying to think of a great example of a school that always gets pronounced wrong. Okay, Evans High School, okay? Wapello is how you say that, correct?
Yep.
But the number of times people go Wapello. Now, anybody who's watching the Wapello team at home, anytime they hear Wapello, they're going, why? That's not how you say it. And schools is one thing, but the individual students is another. And to be fair, individual student names are often more difficult. But that's why when you guys get that roster, one of the supporting staff, one of the TO people, they're going to give you that roster, and they're going to say, let's look over this together and say, are there any names on here that are difficult to pronounce? If there are, that person is going to go find that coach, or they're going to go find somebody who can say, you know, who can give them that pronunciation, right? I've done that before. I've had Jotnell and other students do that before, but it really is a simple saying, hey, coach, I know you guys are warming up. I want to make sure I do right by you. How do I say this guy's name on your roster, right? Have a pen with you, write out how to pronounce it, bring it up to the thing, right? There's a couple of young gentlemen from ADM. They're twins that play Smash. and their names are unique names. It's like Daragh or something like that, and I think it's pronounced Dara. But like that was a name that we butchered over and over again to the point where at the end of that stream last year, the parents were in there saying it's pronounced this way. Like they were getting annoyed because we weren't saying their kid's name correctly. And again, that happens with non-standard names or non-standard spellings, but it's an important part of that professionalism piece. So 100%, we need to read off who's playing and be able to, best as we can, correctly pronounce student names, okay? And gamer tags. Sometimes gamer tags, it's hard to know how to say a gamer tag correctly. Let's say that you guys are sitting down and you're getting ready to stream and you read a gamer tag and you're like, oh no. Not because you can't say it, because you're like, I don't know if I can say that on stream. What do? You don't say it. Now, here's the thing. When the teams check in, part of the check-in process is that there's a spreadsheet IHSE has, and they're like, what's your name? Okay, and then this is the gamer tag we have listed. Right then and there, if they haven't already, they're supposed to catch an inappropriate gamer tag and then force them to change it, okay? We've had that happen multiple times. That inappropriate gamer tag doesn't always get updated to the sheet that you have. But there's been a couple times, I'm trying to remember in spring, there was a Valorant tag that we just never read the entire time, and we just refer to them by their name. So you do want to look out for those. Donna. Yeah. Yeah, Irish fishfucker. You would just call him fish. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Irish fish, right? So something like that slides through, then you would get around it that way. Okay. What are some other things that the casters need to make sure they're aware of when they hit that go live button? Or what's one of the first things that they should do when they hit go live? Or when they're starting to cast, I should say. Okay, make sure audio balance is good. You don't want mic or game audio blown away out of proportion where you can't hear one over the other. Okay, Landon? Yes, it is just as important that you guys introduce yourselves by name and gamer tag if you want, and who you are. You know, hey, we're students at MCC. You can even say like, hey, I'm casting Smash today, but I'm a Siege player, and this is blah, blah, blah. And you can do that, right? Because if you're going to be on mic with them the entire day, getting that little bit of a connection and knowing who you are is relevant, especially if you start cheering on or celebrating what their students are doing. They will then attach that to your voice, and if they know a little bit about who you are, that does matter. Now, you guys won't have webcams, and I know a lot of you guys prefer it that way, but that personal connection with the casters is a huge part of a lot of these productions, so don't overlook that, okay? Another thing is for the sponsors that we have, you must give those shout outs. Now, usually we don't have ones that we have to read at the top of a match, but we will have ones that we have to flip over to or read or watch in between games in a set, where at the end of a set, you must do that, right? Why? Cody? They paid for it. It's not just going like, yeah, we'll do you a solid, we'll put you on stream. It's like, no, they may have paid for the hardware, for the trophies or the banners. They may have paid for something else. They may be sponsoring or giving back to the event in another way. And if you are not holding up our end of the bargain by giving that publicity on stream, that could be hundreds, if not several thousands of dollars that then the IHSEA doesn't get later because that company or group decides, you know what, we did our end of the thing and you guys couldn't even talk about our company on your stream like you said you were going to, so we're not going to come back. We have never gotten a complaint from the IHSEA. That would be a huge one if we ever did, right? That could be a deal breaker for us. So we need to make sure we do that, okay? So at stream start, we're going to talk about, we're going to make sure audio balance is, actually, let's even do this. Pre-stream. Audio balance is good.
Real quick, they did fix it.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Mics are muted or unmuted as needed. We have rosters on hand with correct pronunciations. Streams are named correctly, and casters know which game they are casting. There is something that will happen, that always happens, where the two casters are sitting there and they have game one and they do the game, and then they're waiting for their game two to pop in, and they're like, wait, I think I have Lake Mills versus Griswold. And then as the lobby starts to fill in, they're like, wait a minute, no, this isn't Lake Mills versus Griswold, this is these two other schools. Okay? That's okay. If you start to notice that happen and you're on mic, that's where you would Discord message or pop out real quick and say, hey, can you confirm which match I'm actually supposed to have? That way you guys know when you're reading the correct rosters, right? Because if you guys do the job of reading the roster, but then you're reading a roster that's actually being casted in a different pod, then you're causing confusion and things like that, right? But audio balance good, mics muted or unmuted, rosters on hand with correct pronunciation, streams named correctly, and casters know which game they are casting. And then I'm also going to put brackets, banners, match score, tickers, etc. are updated. Updated in OBS. Okay. So if there's anything that you need to pull or grab on the stream before the next game starts, you would. So for example, let me go to YouTube and see if I can show you one. Oh, we don't have them for these ones. Do I have it for the finals? Oh. Okay, let me go to... I don't think we did it for League. Valorant we did, though. Let me go find Val. Okay. Come on, let me see the game. There it was. Okay, one, this is the rare gameplay screen that we honestly don't use a whole lot. I may even not load it in this time because what will happen is sometimes a streamer will flip to this and then they'll forget to eventually go to the full screen one. But I guess let's talk about it for just a second. Why did I initially create this scene? Why do you think this gameplay feed where it's smaller with these, what's the use case of this one? Landon?
Intro to the sponsor usually.
Okay, it could be intro to the sponsor thing. What I also like about this one, Montana, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say, I feel like, I don't know if this is exactly what you're asking me to play, but as faster releases, if there's like a lull in the game,
Correct.
they bring up the sponsors.
Correct. Yeah, this allows us to go here during a lull in the game without completely going away from the gameplay. My intent originally for building this was if you're going to be showing that lobby screen as they're filtering in where nothing's happening, then at least have these on the side, right? That way you guys can see what's going on there. But the thing I was doing to show you this was when I said match tickers, I'm talking about the banners at the top, right? Before the stream goes live or before the next match starts, we'll need to go into League OS, grab the link, paste it, and then it will update these two things to show the actual game we're watching. We don't want that, we don't want to finish game one. Let's say this is match one, and let's say Marshalltown wins over Waukee. We don't want to leave this banner open, go into the next match. It's two totally different schools, but at the top it says Marshalltown's already won 2-0, right? So that's one of those things we need to go make sure that we update before somebody has to go tap us on the shoulder and say, hey, you didn't update the match banner. Okay, so that's what I mean by that. Okay, stream start. So you guys already talked about several of these. This is introducing yourselves as casters, going over the how to play graphic, reading off full school names and team rosters, and then thanking everybody for supporting, including sponsors. Okay. During matches, it's pretty simple, right? We don't need to be doing a lot on the back end when the game itself is going, right? We're not going to flip over to a sponsor. We're not going to be doing anything wild. We're going to be focusing on the game itself. But can you guys think of one or two bullets that we may want to have on our quote-unquote checklist during a live game when we have two casters going? Cody.
Do we have to update the tickers with those products?
Good question. Generally speaking, you don't have to update the tickers because one of the AV people will be doing so. Yeah, so like you and Jotnell might do that job, or IHSCA would do that job. However, actually, you guys can't update it because it has to come from the coaches on the high school teams or the IHSCA people. But we could try to confirm, whoops, we could try to confirm that match scores / banners are being updated in real time. So you guys could just make a mental note of that while you're streaming. You're about to start game 2, but game 1's not showing yet. And then you could maybe again send a quick Discord message to Jotnell or to Levi or to somebody and say, hey, can you guys update the match banner for this game, this pod? That way it shows right on stream.
Make sure to give each broadcaster the respectful amount of time to say their lines.
Yeah.
And make sure not to overlap each other because you don't need two people that are trying to play by play at the same time, and it just sounds like a bunch of jargon.
Yeah, and
because in most broadcasts you have the color broadcaster and the play by play person.
Yep. Yeah, and we don't need to go over that whole list here, but Colin's exactly right. There's etiquette, there's ways to cast that's good and bad. Generally, you have those 2 roles, which we're not going to dive into right this second. Some of you guys have gone through the caster training. We did this extensively. But you want to make sure that you are doing a good job of playing off of your duo, or in the rare cases, the triple cast that you have. Triple cast can be really rough, but your volume needs to be good. You need to make sure that you guys are giving each other airtime. Some of you guys are deeply analytical and you're going to want to break down what's happening or what just happened and speak for too long. You need to realize you got to keep that short and snappy because you can't be talking over relevant action that pops up while you're yapping. Another great one is if your co-caster asks you a question or is clearly teeing you up or queuing you up to answer something or respond and you don't, there's a lot of things that go with that. So we could go and put some of those things here. This is more looking at the production back end and anything that you guys would need to do. There's not a ton, but everything Colin just referenced is exactly relevant, right? It's how to do the cast the right way, right? I have some resources for that are already in the Discord. I'll just make sure that our casters kind of take a look over those before they go live on those days. Okay. What do we need to do between rounds or games, right? So again, think about a game like Siege. Smash is going to be very short between rounds, so you may not have as much time here. But between rounds in Siege, you're not supposed to have more than 5 minutes of downtime, but I've never seen a game start game 1 to game 2 in less than 5 minutes. So let's assume that you're going to operate on 10, 12 minutes of downtime potentially, right? What are some things that you need to make sure that you're checking or doing from the back end in between game 1, game 2, game 3? Cody?
I can probably make sure everything's fine, but maybe interact with the chat.
Yeah. So we used to have chat on and we've turned chat off because 1, it's on a delay for most games, and 2, it became something that the casters couldn't moderate while they were casting because they had single monitor setups. So that's actually a fantastic idea. However, chat is generally turned off, so there won't be that. That being said, you could still talk to or try to engage with the audience. So you can say things like cheer, thank you guys for supporting your favorite teams, blah 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 blah. You can even if they can't type in the box, you could still have some level of engagement with them, right? So I'll put engage with the audience. This is also a great time to go over bracket updates for other games / pods and to let the viewers know what's coming up next in the schedule. If you've done all of those things and they're still sitting there and you're still twiddling, this is where you could flip over to add slideshows or videos. Typically what we'll do here is we'll put prioritize slides. This might be one of the few times where you flip over to the add slideshow, and the add slideshows are set up to be randomized. And then you guys can do a little bit of plugging the businesses that show up on your screen, right? We'd just like to thank some of our sponsors that are here, and it looks like the first one we're going to talk about is Minuteman Printing, and Minuteman's here, and they're doing all the banners, and they also do all the shirts and stuff. They're downstairs, right? So thank you, Minuteman, for always being a supporter of the IHSCA, right? and then it might flip over to us, or it might flip over to Subcity, who always gives us lunch, or whatever it is, right? But you can do a little bit of live ad reading if you've done all these other things and you're just sitting there waiting for a little while, okay? This would also be another good time where we can confirm that match scores and banners are updated. Okay, anything else you guys can think of that we would need to do between rounds or games within a set? Yeah.
You could go over what happened with them.
Yeah, okay, good. I'm gonna actually put that up top. You could do what we call post-round analysis. This is where I wish that we had the webcams, or I wish that we had a really good ability to go back and pull and review clips immediately, right? But there could be an option where you guys go back and talk about one of the big plays from that first game. This is also a great time where you can talk about, hey, this team won game one and they won it off of doing X, Y, and Z. These were all really great things. Oh, and this team lost, but they're not out of it. This is some adjustments that we think they can make. Oh, plus it's going to be their map pick next. And so that's going to be, so yeah, do some post-round analysis, right? Keep it simple, keep it for the layman, because a lot of these are parents and grandparents and family members watching that really don't know what's going on. But you can do that simple, here's where each team is at. That's also why I think going over bracket updates is really good, because you could say, oh, well, so-and-so is up 1-0. If they win this next game, then they'll advance to this part of the bracket and play the winner of this game over here. Meanwhile, if this team goes and loses the next round, they'll pop to the consolation bracket where they'll play. You can start laying down those foundations for people and knowing where things are going to go, just like you'd see if you were watching other sports tournaments, right? Like a Sweet 16, like basketball tournament or something like that. Okay? When the match is totally over, right? So you guys have done your 3, 5, however many games it is done. Winners decided. What are the things you do as you're concluding a stream before you go into downtime? Cody. Yep, we're also going to, even before we do that, we're going to make sure we put that we celebrate the winning team for just a second. Now, again, and this is something that the casters really need to be mindful of. If you are casting and it's your old high school team, and this is true of the entire thing, you can't be a homer, right? Because your home now is the Tigers. Sorry to break it to you. But like, let's say that you graduated. I'm going to pick on Landon because he's standing me up. Let's say that North Tama is playing and Landon's on stream. And Landon's very good at this, but he can't be like, oh, North Tama, like the whole time, right? It's got to be even keeled. But when it's done, you do want to celebrate and pop off for the team that won and then announce where they're going next and how that's happening, as well as, again, doing the update for the brackets. So some of these things can be the same, engaging with the audience, going over the brackets, let users know what's going up in the schedule. So we can do all of this again. The other thing is we need to, thank the viewers and sponsors. And then let them know what is happening with the stream next, right? What I mean by this is, oh, well, your game ended. On paper, we have about 45 minutes until the next game on this stream begins. So you can say, hey, we're going to be taking a break for a little while. We're going to leave this stream up and running. Before you guys leave, let's check out a couple of these ads. Bop, bop, bop. And then you say, we'll be back at 11 a.m. for the next game on this stream, so don't go anywhere. Now, if you know already what that match is going to be, you call that out. If you don't know what that's going to be, that's fine. If you know that the team that just won is moving to a different pod for the shoutcast because of how the bracket's set up, then you can also let the viewers that are watching say, hey, if you're here following Ames High School, they're going to be on pod 3 next at 11 a.m. So you can jump from our stream and you can go listen to so-and-so and so-and-so over in pod 3. They're going to be doing that game next if that's the team that you're following, right? We don't always have that information, but as best as we can, this is where I'd call it's almost like trains, like the different podcast or the different shoutcasts are almost like trains at different stations and they're all interconnecting. And so it's you directing traffic from which train station they're at to the one they want to be at next, right? So if they're following a specific team through the tournament, which most of the viewers are, then you want to the best of your ability, help them follow their team along. That way they're not sitting there at 11. You come back on mic, you announce the two teams, and like, hey, wait a minute, like where's my team? Hopefully we will have directed them to whatever stream that person or team will be on next. Okay. I can also, there's other people that can show you kind of how to read the bracket so that you can have a generally good idea of which teams you'll have in which spots. Okay. We also need to make sure that we play several video ads before going to a full break. This would be the one time that you're probably doing video ads. And you guys need to be, you still need to pay attention during this part, right? So you're going to play the video ads. You're going to mute your mics. You can talk and have downtime with your co-caster during this. But then as soon as one video is done, you're going to smack the other one, cue it out, and go. You're going to do 2 or 3 of those. And then when that's all said and done, you're going to flip to the ad slideshow or the will be back screen. You can't just smack one video and then leave the room, because this is time where we want people to see and engage with that stuff. Okay. So there was a question that came up the other day. When are the streams going to be cut or broken to prevent losing VOD footage? Again, this ultimately is the IHSEA's decision. We'll ask them how they want us to do it. It could be we cut it after each match. It could be we let everything go all day until we get to the third/grands matches, and then we cut it there and make a new stream. But I'll put here that we will ask IHSEA staff for input, and then we may need to reset the stream setups to accommodate for this change over. And all that means on OBS, and I'll show you guys this, is when you guys are going, so my blue buttons over here that say stop streaming and auto stop, those would say start streaming and manage broadcast is what this auto stop button would say. You could click manage broadcast. A box will pop open that says broadcast info or select existing broadcast. You would click the select existing broadcast tab, and then you'll see 4 to 6 streams that are sitting there that the IHSEA has set up. And it might just be you confirming that the stream you have set up and the one you're clicked to is correct, right? So if it says that you are pod 1, then you're making sure that it's clicked and reconnected to the pod 1 shoutcast. Because like what I made with the previous point, if you are doing your job at the end of a match, whoops, not there, here, where you are letting them know what's happening with the stream next, and you're saying, hey, if you want to watch this game, go over and hop over to pod 1, but then you cross streams on the pod and you guys are actually casting the wrong game, then you're sending them to the wrong train station to watch the wrong game, right? So we got to make sure that we don't do silly stuff like that, okay? Now, this part should be fairly easy because this is the last step. When the entire event is done and we're in the teardown phase, specifically for the shoutcasting PCs and equipment, what are the teardown steps for getting the streaming PCs reset and ready to go and us collecting our own things? So in terms of hardware, what are the things that were at the streaming PCs that we need to make sure get boxed up, recollected, and brought back to MCC or wherever they go? Cody. Yep. So the Blue Yeti / headset microphones. Again, the reason I'm having you do these lists like 10 times is I want us to all know what we're bringing, right? So Blue Yeti microphones or headset mics. What other streaming equipment? Landon? Stream decks. Whoops. Okay. Some of the stations will have for the microphone the boom arm. Okay. Okay. If you're stuck, go back up here and look. Okay. Blue Yeti stream decks, headphones. Okay. We need to put encoders, and these will go back in the server room. Okay, the nice thing is as we saw when we did the tour on Wednesday, the PC towers and monitors and keyboards that are there get to stay. So we don't have to put those away. Those just get turned off and they go back into a resting state, and then we're good to go. Okay. One of the things that's incredibly important is trash cleanup in the casting spaces. Those little rooms have 2+ people in them for 8+ hours a day for 3 days in a row. At the end of each day, we need to make sure that somebody, and it should be the casters, but somebody is going in, they're grabbing cups, they're grabbing paper garbage, they're getting that out of there. Honestly, and I'll put a bullet point for this, one of the biggest things is cleaning out old rosters / brackets / rule sets. What I try to do for each team is, again, the IHSA is going to give you your printout of your rosters. Don't leave those rosters in there for the casters on the next day, because you are really going to potentially confuse the crap out of your casters if they have the old rosters from yesterday sitting down and they're thinking those are the teams that they're doing and those aren't lining up, right? So let's just get rid of the old ones after the day's done because we don't need them, okay? Same thing with rule sets, right? Like I'm going to put a rule copy or rule book for Siege and for Smash in there. Once the Siege days are done, let's recycle the Siege books because you're not going to need them the next day, right? And then, of course, it's actual like garbage, like cups and different things like that people might leave behind, okay? And then putting away the desks or equipment for the quote-unquote the mobile setups. I'm not talking about the Smash games. I'm talking about those 2 extra shoutcasts that we talked about on Wednesday, right? So we got the one that's going to go up in the balcony that I showed you guys and kind of next to the HVAC stuff, and then the one that goes in that between hallway between the black box and the auditorium. What are some extra steps we need to make sure when we're doing teardown of those 2 setups? Cody. Yep, so tables, desks, chairs all stored properly because those are not permanent setups. Remember, with both of those rooms, I said the big problem that we're going to have to do is we're going to need a long Ethernet cable. So we need to make sure that we untape and pack up the temporary Ethernet cabling. Okay. And then remember, both of those setups will be running off of laptops, not desktop PCs. Does anybody remember who those laptops belong to? Landon? Yeah. So we'll need to make sure that the laptops and chargers are properly stored and given back to IHSEA. It's Levi. Okay. So that should be the whole process of events for setting up, managing, and closing down the live streams. Now, again, this checklist does not go over casting etiquette, performance rules, all of that kind of stuff. That's a separate thing. This is just kind of managing the back end. Okay, are there any other questions, comments, things that you guys think we've overlooked in terms of making sure that we are good on the casting end and making sure that our shoutcasters feel comfortable and confident when they sit down, right? The goal of this is that as much as possible, your casters just get to sit down, cast, and then in between games, flip over brackets, show ads, and call it a day, right? Anything else we're overlooking that we need to make sure are ready to go? Okay, looking back here at the last bit, there's things that I need to get. The only real project, though, that needs to be made before next Wednesday would be the how to play graphics for Smash and for Siege. Is there anybody other than Hunter who would like to make those? I can give you guys the old ones for the previous games, and you can use that as a copy for this one.
I could probably do Siege.
Yeah, Colin, you'd be a great one to do Siege. Okay, does anybody want to take Smash? Hunter? Okay, the other Hunter. So yeah, that Hunter, you can take it. Okay, so I will give you guys copies to both of those, but if there's no other questions here, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording for the online students.